What's the focus for Animoca now? I know you're doing some big moves in education.
Yes.
You do a lot of moves, and maybe, I mean, honestly, Yet, it took me probably a year to get my head even around what Animoca is. You know, are you a gaming company? Are you a hedge fund? Are you a venture fund? You do so many things. So what is on your mind these days? Where are you headed and what's important?
Well, the mission, digital property rights, and building up essentially Web3 to where it is, where we hope it will be in the future, is still the broad mission. And I think the lens that we can take of it is a little bit like, what was the original promise of the internet, as in Web 1, as we call it today? And that was around decentralization of information and broad, basically, sort of freedoms online that you could express in a manner that you couldn't maybe have perhaps do physically. And that was a form of broader democratic and open frameworks. The framework that continued to thrive despite everything was open source, but everything else pretty much became walled gardens in Web 2. In Web 3, we have this potential to do exactly what Web 1 was really supposed to do. Except now in this framework, we have ownership of our data, which is actually the raw material of the open metaverse. It's actually what's valuable. And by decentralizing the power structures of data, we essentially create a sort of property rights, sort of freedom, type of framework for this new internet. So that's kind of what we're trying to build. But how do we do that? Well, one of the things about how to build that is that we believe in this thing called the shared network effect, which is possible in blockchain. The example of this would be, you may not necessarily invest in, Ethereum. In a company that's building on stuff in Ethereum. But just simply owning Ethereum tokens is effectively a way in which you get to participate in the long-term effects of what Ethereum is building over time, right? Maybe it's going to grow, and if it will grow, then you already are a stakeholder just by owning, a number of tokens without necessarily having to sort of invest in 5 or 6 other companies. You might get better returns, but you also take more risk. But you're taking a bet on the entire ecosystem, just simply hold the token and do stuff with that, right? So that's a form of stakeholder capitalism. That's a form of participation that we're now able to do where everyone can do that. So that's the broad picture that we're hoping for. How do we build that? We invest in hundreds of companies that can basically grow that space. And even if the companies themselves don't necessarily all succeed, they will have contributed a part in helping grow an ecosystem that has long-term benefits. And we think of this like the construction in the open metaverse. We all give parallels to a country, right? So when you invest in a country, you build infrastructure, you have to build restaurants, you have to build businesses and all that kind of stuff. You have to provide them with some kind of funding to do that. That's basically a part of our role. But also, we look at it from what went wrong with Web 1. And Web 1, a lot of the investors at the time were investing on the basis of simply capital returns, which makes sense because they're a fund. But almost all of our investment comes from our balance sheet, which means that we're able to take a very, very long view. We can say, hey, 30 years down the road, let's see where this goes. And we can invest with purpose in terms of how we think about where the world will go. Because if we're right about this, which we certainly hope we are, then we will do well anyway. Because the adoption curve, right, which if you look at some of these charts, they show how Web 1 and Web 3 adoption in relative years are almost 1-to-1, right? So in terms of the growth curves, we're kind of in the 2001, 2002 age of Web 1. And the wallet adoption versus the internet connections, which is sort of that parallel, it's uncanny how it tracks, right? Which is
like 4% penetration now or something?
Yeah, exactly. It's just small.
Which is like 01 or maybe even earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that just shows exactly what the potential could be. And so therefore, as long as we're broadly invested, we can help participate in the space. But also, it allows us to then take a broader view. If we only invested in 1 or 2 companies and build our own products, we have a natural tendency to want to protect those institutions that we're supporting. But if we're invested in over 400 companies and continue to invest in the broader ecosystem, then we can take a much broader view. We can say what's better for everything while still maintaining capital returns and capitalist sort of incentives within the structure. Because we're not a foundation. We're still a for-profit entity. We have to provide returns. But how do we inoculate ourselves against monopolistic behavior? By being so broadly invested in the ecosystem as a whole, which basically provides us a framework where we can now sort of have, it's not altruistic in the classic sense, but we can take a much more sort of long-term holistic view that's healthy for the ecosystem. Imagine if Apple or Facebook actually had a stake in, a large swath of, we're talking in this case, thousands of companies, had a stake in those companies that were building stuff on Facebook or building stuff on the App Store. What would their behavior look like? Very, very different, I think, right? It's not only because they might have a say in stuff, It's also that their financial incentives aren't entirely driven only by how much I make as an app store. I'm also thinking, well, if I take too much from those companies, the value of the equity or the value of the companies will reduce. As therefore, I create a balance. What's healthier? And I think what's healthier is that we all have stakes in each other, so we have shared mutual success, rather than one person trying to monopolize the other. And that's what Web3 is able to do, because it has a classic, sort of very inherent anti-monopolistic framework.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy.
I'm looking for partners, collaborators, colleagues who want to join forces with me around the globe and create real value, generational wealth, and financial freedom for everyone else around the world. Get involved in the cryptocurrency markets, get involved in the NFT markets. This is your moment. Life all comes down to a few moments. Don't let this pass. Now it's not too late. Next year is going to be too late. Ultimately, this is about freedom. That's the way I see it. This is about giving power back to the people and enabling billions of people worldwide to use the financial markets to improve their lives and those of their friends and their families and their communities. Honestly, I think it's a violation of human rights not to allow people basic access to financial services. Because right now people are being kept in the dark, they're being robbed of education, and it's a travesty. And so I'm looking for people that want to join me and be a part of this solution. And that all happens inside the DeFi Academy. The gains my students are making are absolutely amazing. Double, triple digit gains in the first month alone. That's amazing. This will change your life. Now is the time to get involved. I'm going to tell you exactly how my students in my academy made money in the last 30 days. I'm talking about real trading results. And let me just whet your appetite a little bit. Let me hit you with some numbers. I'm talking Brendan from New Zealand is up 68.77% on the month. Steve from Europe up 83%. Albert in Singapore up 169.9% on one single trade. I got Susan up 153% on her call options alone, also rocking 139% returns and 442% returns as well on individual trades. These are people that are changing their financial future in the last 30 days, but it's based on trading discipline.
I've graduated over 500 students from inside my academy from over 54 countries around the world. It's amazing. When it comes to crypto, DeFi, and blockchain, we love this space. We truly believe it's the future. This is down to our core. It's authentic to what we're doing, and everybody can tell through the camera because you can't make this stuff up. If you're watching me now, wherever you are, I implore you, take 60 seconds right now and join my academy. Apply today. Now you've got a chance. Life all comes down to a few moments. What are you going to do? What's the choice that you're going to make?